Chris,
All right.
Good afternoon, Kiwanians. Happy
here we go.
Halloween
See
Eve.
See
you
you
guys
guys.
later.
See you guys later.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two people got the memo about wearing a costume. Although this might be my regular uniform that I'm going to stick with for the rest of the year. Thank you all for being with us today on this Wednesday. Unfortunately, I think most of you got the news about Don Chichester's hospitalization. We do think he's doing much better, and I know Jim Randall's had a very nice visit with him. And there's a write up on that in the newsletter. We will have a card going around for him as well that John's going to send out. Uh, Don has a blood infection, and he also had a little bit of a fall. So that's why he's in the hospital, and he's at Lewis Gale, and then he will likely be moved to Friendship for rehab. So we're all wishing the best for him. I'm going to ask Joyce Montgomery and Harry Zuloff to come up, call for introspection and Pledge of Allegiance, and then Harry will also introduce our guests for us.
If you didn't, whoops, Katie. About that or not so happy about that. Our children are very happy about that. But I want to talk about the other side of Halloween. The spiritual side of Halloween has changed over time, and now it is celebrated in many different ways. People can enjoy the occasion in putting on outfits, cutting up pumpkins, which are all old traditions. Halloween can be a deeply spiritual holiday with vast significance. Halloween spirituality is an communities and the nature world. By embracing the spiritual dimension of Halloween, we can access its rich tapestry of meaning and enjoy its beauty and magic. Halloween gives us a chance to get in touch with our spiritual side and enjoy the mystery of God, or by looking into the supernatural. It's where we can explore the unknown, seek advice, connect with others, remember the past, encourage growth and change, and accept the idea of life and death with gratitude.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today we have three guests. They're familiar guests. Robin Fouts, John Fouts, please stand, and Robbie Hairston. We all know them. Their hosts are Mike Loveman, Bert Boyd, and Keith Hartman. And I just want to say a word. I get the workers for the Pancake Day. These people, they sign up every year and they work most of the day. So I really appreciate it. Let's welcome again.
Thank you, Harry. I would agree with that. Anytime we have an opportunity, our Action Club definitely comes out in full force and works really hard, and we do appreciate it. So as you all know, we have been anniversary of the 6 objects of Kiwanis, and each week I've just been taking a moment to recite them for us all to think about them and how they apply to our weekly Kiwanis times and also maybe even our own personal lives or work lives. The third object of Kiwanis is to promote social, business, and professional standards. I think we all know that positive relationships are really what drive so many areas of our lives, including our businesses. And this is a wonderful object for us always to keep in mind as we maintain those personal and professional relationships. Next up, we've got a superpower recognition, and I'm going to ask folks. I don't see Jason Poff here today. I will say he is the very first person who told me what his superpower is not, and he told me his superpower is not gardening.
Well, that may be true, but he was there and working. A lot of the Action Club people came. I was so excited because people were telling me they had something else to. These people turned out: Jeffrey Swiger, Robbie Hairston, Robin and John Fouts, Chris Rouse, Ken Briggs, Bert Boyd, Jason Poff, Gene Bollendorf, Joyce Montgomery. Don Witt did something the day before. Joe Lemmer, And my son Taylor and I was there. We had so much fun and shared dirt at each other. Yeah, it was good stuff. So thank you so much for coming out. Our garden is looking so beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. It was some Herculean labors for sure. Okay, next up, we're going to have our grant presentation. And today's recipient going to handle that for us. And we'll ask Guy Bird to come up as well, please.
Thank you, President Jean. I'm pinch hitting for Grant Chair Bob Haberman, who's out of town today, but many of you have been involved in our grant process this year and years in the past. And you know what a streamlined version we have of that. It's just like clockwork. It runs very well. We're proud to start today. It's our first of more than 24 grants that'll be presented between now and the kickoff of KPAD. Just coordinating the event is challenging because we have a lot going on in our club and we want to give our recipients time to receive their check and tell us a little bit about it and process no. The Adult Care Center is a near and dear project to our Kiwanis Club. The Adult Care Center was founded more than 40 years ago, and our club was very instrumental in doing that. We continue to fund that effort. It's one of our largest grants during the year. Please welcome Guy Bird as I present him his grant for this year. Guy? Tell us how you describe it. We have to go. We're going to get your picture.
Thank you. Thank you, John. See if I can get this thing pointed right. I am honored to be here again. I've now been with the Adult Care Center going on 6 years, and it's been wonderful to see the support that we get from the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke. It's a special relationship, I assure you. We're now in our 41st year, so going back to 1983 is when we got started. Volunteers from Kiwanis, League of Older Americans, and Salvation Army are the ones that got together to make this happen. And I think it's been a real addition to the healthcare availability around the Roanoke Valley. As you may know, everybody that comes to our place, it's adult medical daycare, which means that these are folks that are still living at home. They're highly dependent. The majority of them have some level of dementia, and they need to have somebody care for them while their family caregivers are at work. And we try to make it as affordable as possible. About a little over half of our enrollees are veterans. We have a fair number of people that receive Medicaid, and then there are some who need to be there, can't afford it, and they need financial assistance. And that's where we provide this financial scholarship for people to come. And that's where the Kiwanis grant comes in to help replenish. This could not otherwise come to be there. And we're grateful on their behalf for your support. Just briefly let you know, this has been a good year for the organization. We had our first golf tournament last month, very successful, had a lot of folks show up for that. And it's probably something we'll be doing again in the future. But we were very grateful. And the Lineburgers were among the sponsors that we had. I don't see them here right now, but I want to thank them as well. We've just established a collaboration, I think is the term, for working with another organization, and that's the Roanoke Symphony. They have a program that's called Wellness Arts Center and Wellness Arts Program. And we will be their sponsor for the next year of the Wellness Arts, which is where a small number of symphony members, usually a trio, will visit not only our place and have interactive music therapy with our folks, but also with other rehab facilities and nursing home facilities around the valley. So we're excited about this new relation down the road. Last thing, of course, is next month is Thanksgiving, and we have our annual Thanksgiving dinner for our participants and their families, which makes it for a large crowd. And we have enjoyed and been grateful for the help from the Kiwanis every year for coming and helping us care for our guests that day. I just wanted to remind you, it's Friday before Thanksgiving, which is November 22nd. And if you'd like to come and help, be about 2 hours, 11:30 to 1:30 thereabouts. Dan Chitwood and his group, the Easy Pickens, are going to be there playing for us again. So it's a big event in the life of our participants. And we would certainly appreciate if anybody that would like to come. There happens to be sign-up sheets on your table. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you. Thank you very much, Guy. We appreciate that. Okay, we've got some announcements. 1:30 here in Charter Hall. Courtney Plaster's the chair of that committee. You can see her for more information. Our book club group is meeting next Wednesday, November the 6th at 6 p.m. the South County Library. And I'm going to ask the litter pickup for us. Courtney's got her Wonder Woman outfit on. I like it.
Well, you know, Jean, I had to bring my superhero cape today. One thing that my superpower is vision. So I left my regular glasses. I want to invite everyone who has heard Sherry talk about, she's gone over there anyway. You saw Sherry earlier placing flyers on the table for area. It will be Melrose Avenue and the Kiwanis Nature Park location. We're going to do that on November the 9th. And we would love to see many Kiwanians there picking up litter with us. On your table, there is a flyer, and it has folks picking up litter on there. And we're partnering with SERVE, standing for Equity in the Roanoke Valley. If you've met the founder, Decca Knight, she will be there along with volunteers with her organization. Goodwill will have staff members there as well. We'll meet under the Goodwill Pavilion that is just outside of the Melrose Library in the Lower Horton Park, which is in fact the same location of our Kiwanis Nature Park. So we're really excited. If you want to register, you can use this QR code, or you can just show up that day, and we'd love to have you to pick up litter. So thank you all for doing that.
Thank you, Courtney. Next up, we're going to do brag bucks. For the benefit of our guests, brag bucks and make an announcement about something important to you or celebrate something personal going on. I would like to invite John Bradshaw to come up first and kick off our brag bucks, and then anyone else who wants to come up after that. Thank you.
Time does travel, especially when you're old. When you're old, it just seems to creep along. You don't have time to celebrate. You don't have time to do the things you want to do. But occasionally you turn around and you get things done. Because it was our 60th anniversary of our marriage. To give you a little time frame, we were married a little bit before Halloween at St. John's Episcopal Church in Roanoke. And we, with many friends and family, moved to a wedding on Harshberger Road, the family farm. And then following that, we caught a plane and went to Bermuda for our wedding resort. So I wanted to come here today and celebrate our celebration of the 60s that I've known so well over so many years. And as a tribute, I have a check for John in the tune of $60. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. That's amazing. 6 years is a long time to be married. We should definitely celebrate Matilda for that, I think. Would anyone else like to make a brag? But I thought I slipped that one down.
Come back. And why that's connected to Clean Valley Council. For a lot of you all, you may know that in 1977, John Bradshaw, and I was just 7 years old at that time. Little did I know that his impact here in this club and in the Roanoke Valley would later affect me in my life. Now, I tell you this, it is really wonderful when you live long enough to completion. And so fast forward from 1977, I graduated in 88 from high school in Martinsville High School, and decided that I wanted to go to college. I knew I didn't want a large university. I visited the campus of Randolph-Macon Women's College on a lovely September day. And I was guided on that campus by a lovely young woman named Holly Bradshaw. Had a wonderful time, and I instantly fell in love with her and the campus professors, so on and so forth. So yes, I applied early decision. So my life then fast forward through time, many years working in the Roanoke Valley, nonprofits, worked in Martinsville at the Natural History Museum, to come in and interview with Ann Masters, who was then director at Clean Valley Council. I interviewed, I was hired for a part-time teaching position, and she offered me $6 an hour. Well, I wanted to move from Martinsville to Roanoke, and I knew I wouldn't be able to do that for $6 an hour. So after a 2-hour and lovely visit with Ann Masters, I had to decline that offer. And it was really sad because I really wanted to be part of Clean Valley Council, but couldn't do it for that amount of money. So fast forward through many years of museum work and 24 years here in Roanoke, working at the Science Museum, the Transportation Museum, and then later, thank you, John, for establishing Clean Valley Council and having a lovely daughter named Holly.
All right, we've got Gary Dirk coming up and James Matthews coming up.
This is real quick. On Monday at the Vinton War Memorial, they're having the inaugural Field of Honor, and there will be upwards of 100 flags flown over there, and each one represents a veteran. They donated some money with the benefit of veterans. It's been done in other localities. This is the inaugural, first time in Vinton. I'll be there to play taps at 10 a.m. on Monday. So if you want to come out and see a stirring display of flags and remember those who have sacrificed so we can be free, come on out. Thanks. Hi, I'm James Matthews. I'm kind of new to this, and I was hoping that this is, I'm doing a plug as well. I'm hoping it's appropriate. So since there was a plug before, here's another plug. Choir. It's mostly St. John's Choir, but it's various community members for their annual All Souls concert, which is a little later this year. It's on Friday, November 8th at 6 o'clock. We're doing first half 5 choral numbers, 4 of them unaccompanied, all of them gorgeous. And then the second half is a new sacred piece. When I say new, it's not new music. It's very listenable. It's very beautiful. The free concert, if you want to give something at a love offering, that's fine, but 6 o'clock on November 8th. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Bart Wilner, who will be introducing our speaker's presentation today.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, President Jean, with your cape on over there. To mention one more time, because you've heard this before on previous weeks, our speakers this month have been centered around innovation, technology, entrepreneurship, and business startup. Hagee, who's been on the radio, by the way, all this week, I've heard him, both who have leadership roles with RAMP, the Regional Accelerator and Mentoring Program. 2 weeks ago, we heard from Spencer Marsh and Jess Gilberte, who were RAMP or are RAMP graduates. And last Mike Abbott, who was is one of the RAMP instructors. Well, if you're watching TV at all, you know we're in the midst of the World Series right now. So this week, batting cleanup is another RAMP graduate. And by the way, I actually looked this up. The cleanup hitter in baseball is traditionally the team's most powerful hitter. No pressure on today's speaker. It's now my pleasure to introduce Spencer is the founder and chief executive officer, the CEO of Corvus Labs. Spencer's career has focused on researching and developing mission-capable robot teams for collaborative, unmanned, autonomous air and ground may. Spencer holds a BS degree in computational and applied mathematics from, you guessed it, Virginia Tech. Please join me in giving Spencer a warm Kiwanian welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. Oh, can you all hear me? Thank you very much for having me here today. We had some technical challenges with the projector. As Bart so wonderfully introduced me, my name is Spencer Leamy. I founded my company, Corvus Labs, about 4 years ago in 2020, actually in March of 2020. Basically, in 2015, I left Blacksburg, went to Southern California. I very much missed the New River Valley, came back, met my wife, and started working as a research engineer in the Computational Multiphysics Systems Lab under a gentleman named Dr. Tomo Furukawa. And there we researched autonomous robotics all across to aerial drones, to ground robots that do everything from harvesting grapes to picking up objects and assembling them for factory settings. Basically, I bootstrapped this company through R&D crimes, as well as several grant opportunities. The company started out of my garage, as is tradition, with a GPU. And overall, what we're trying to focus on is not just how do you make, but how do we make that more human-centric in a sense that these robots are here to work with us, to be extensions of ourselves, to do the things that we cannot do, and they can do repetitive tasks without getting tired. How do you make it easier to control and tell them what to do and make them more applicable to a wider range of systems? And, I 8 years now, and everyone's heard of the Tesla self-driving car and how autonomy is always just over the horizon. But that has led to our most recent pivot, which is really into advanced manufacturing. And that's because autonomy it's still very brittle. A lot of the systems are not well understood. And there's a lot of challenges in terms of making sure that you can use them in safety critical areas. The nice thing about manufacturing is that it's a very controlled. I was at a AI and robotics summit just a week ago in Washington, D.C. And this is the first year that is since America's history of 1789 that manufacturing productivity in the United States has genuinely gone down, which is, that needs to be addressed. And that's why we've made a big pivot. You want to go. So this is just some of the examples from my previous work. On the bottom right, there was our actual Corvus Labs 2020. As many of you may know, that was the first month of COVID. And so we pivoted from our system in the upper left, where we had demonstrated it in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, and developed a robotic system that could autonomously navigate and be much more effective than kind of the just sticking the lights in, because we could disinfect specific surfaces very quickly by calculating the dosage. And then we've worked on everything from humanoids to robot centaurs to the various drones you see down at the bottom. So this is mostly what we are focused on. This product right here, we call it Raven Forge. The idea is to build incorporating pick and place. This is being worked on in cooperation with the Virginia Tech Dreams Lab. And the idea is that you can entirely fabricate an aerial system from end to end, from printing the components, wiring them, so it can literally fly off the table. And yeah, that's the general idea. This was developed by the Virginia Tech Dreams Lab. We're cooperating with them to commercialize it specifically within. That's the main kind of focus of our product development. And this is an example of all of the kind of capabilities that are being brought online in the region. A lot of people have seen 3D printing in terms of the traditional kind of gantry unique and can do what is called multi-axis or off-axis planar. But basically what it allows us to do is optimize the structure in ways we've never been able to optimize before. And that enables you to get better mechanical properties in terms of optimizing the body of the drones, of the aerial systems, of the ground systems even. As well as different aspects like thermal and electrical conductivity. So capability that we're able to build things that we would never be able to machine. And so this is one of the core products that supports Raven Forge, which is actually, you don't need to just build the body, you need to build the brain of these robocating. These drones or ground vehicles eventually and other types of robotic systems. We can actually optimize the intelligence that controls these robots on board. So we're optimizing not just to have very generalized and capable systems right off the bat that are designed for specific mission tasks, and that instead of trying to solve all of the problems, we can easily retrain it on the fly. So if you want to go to the next, it really comes down to data, right? You need a lot of samples of data, and you might have use ChatGPT or any of these types of big AI systems. And a lot of people talk about artificial, and I'm not that personally worried about it, but it comes down to massive collections of data, and humans can't actually collect enough of the right data and the right distributions. So what we've done is we've taken virtual worlds in combination with very advanced to calibrate to real sensors. So you can take something from like a video game, and you're able to bring it into the actual domain of the sensor so that you can hit the scale that you need. A lot of these systems are built around data sets that are hundreds of thousands of samples or even 1 million samples. We're trying to hit hundreds of millions of samples to make these systems actually. The biggest problems that we face in autonomy is that, you don't know where the failure case is. It's not necessarily intuitive where the failure cases are going to come up. I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is my team. We're all Hokies and Sons, or Baris, pardon me, is our CTO. I am the founder. I run all of the autonomy. David Reeves, who's a former Marine Corps officer in low altitude air defense, and a physicist, is our electro-optics and infrared lead. Next slide. And then Justin Johnson and Tony McCartney is a former Air Force major who was a contracting officer, specializes in defense innovation. And I'm very excited that, we've been a bootstrap startup for a long time in getting the attention among our potential customers, that we are growing to a team of not just 1 or 2 guys in a garage, but into 5 with very diverse capabilities to really start bringing these systems online. One of the things a lot of what I've talked about, and as Bart kind of hinted at, is a lot of jargon. It's, very complex, very new. And a lot of people sit there and they say, hey, what are you doing in the New River Valley? Why aren't you in or Silicon Valley, where all the startups are happening? It's because this region is actually really strategically positioned to take advantage of this upcoming wave. So one of the key things that we have is Virginia Tech's Mid-Atlantic Aviation Partnership as one of only 6 in the nation FAA certified testing locations for end up coming back to Blacksburg. But then on top of it, which is not as easy to find pictures of, is we have all of the new radio technologies. The thing about once you start leaving just having one robot, but robots collaborating with both humans and making sure that that communication is as fast and as clear as possible is the critical component. And then there's also the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute Smart Road. All of these capabilities significantly cheaper cost than any of my competitors. It also is beautiful in the fact that we have the space to actually test. Boston, San Diego, LA, Silicon Valley, all of these are very space constrained areas. So not only are they not certified, but they don't the, powerhouse engineering university that it is. It creates a great pipeline of talent. And then, I want to go to the next slide. One of the key things that, I've kind of identified doing my mark like that is, the emerging markets are really artificial intelligence and kind of as a subset of that, data centers, robotics, and advanced manufacturing. These are kind of the new industries really coming online. And fascinating for me as somebody who has worked in robotics for a long time to start talking to my clients who are major defense contractors. And they knew Blacksburg not just because of Virginia Tech, but also because of Colmorgan, Moog. There is something around the people employed directly in the manufacturing of advanced precision electric motors in our region alone, which is honestly a unheard of concentration per capita. And one of the reasons that that's such a critical thing is it plays into all of these areas. Electric motors do liquid cooling systems for the propellers. They are the joints of robot manipulation arms that do the type of 3D printing that I was showing earlier. And we have the space and the talent to actually really start capturing these things. And one of the things that more focusing on manufacturing than just systems is we have a heritage in this area of actually manufacturing lots and lots of different capabilities, but that has died out in recent years. Rejuvenation of that capability. It's not going to be in the same way that we previously did, but it will be different and able to really bring a lot of pride in our manufacturing capability back and a lot of money. There's a huge amount of economic opportunity to bring in outside money. They don't have the kind of intersectionality in other places. This area really is strategically positioned to take advantage of that, and something I'm very passionate about explaining to people in the area that supporting these avenues is really critical to our future because they're the emerging markets. They're the ones that will bring on new jobs. Granted, those jobs are line worker. You may be working with robots who are operating on the line. So really, how can you help in terms of capturing these the value from these emerging markets? The way you can is to support educational programs. But my CTO, Dr. Max Baris, was the coach for Botetourt County 4-H robotics. Right, did quite well. We were very proud to sponsor them. And the results that they got age has really set apart several of those students. One of which is now going to community college, and we've actually brought on as one of our part-time workers to do a lot of the wiring, the basic engineering. These capabilities go on in conjunction with things like Hacksburg and Blacksburg's CRC, which is a maker CNC machines classes on how to use these new and emergent tools. There's now Make Roanoke, which just launched its Kickstarter this week. Supporting these endeavors, supporting endeavors like 4-H robotics, will create a pipe emerging markets to stay here in the New River Valley, which as somebody, I mean, granted, I wasn't born and raised here, but I am very passionate about this area. All three of my children were passionate or were born in this region, and I would like to see it grow and thrive. And I really believe that we are well positioned to capitalize on that as long as there is a centered effort to grabbing these types of capabilities. Ramp for me was a little strange. A lot of people go into Ramp because they are wanting to raise money or different things. My reason was, I understand mathematics and robotics, but business was a new learning experience for me. And then on top, understand the region until you've been introduced to it. I'd done startups in LA and San Diego, and the culture there, I probably don't have to explain this to a bunch, is it's very different. It's not as welcoming. People are very much self-centered. When I came here and took part in the RAMP program, and you really felt like everyone wanted you to truly succeed, and they would do whatever, like no matter how far afield your technology is from their understanding, they would do whatever they could to help you. And that entrepreneurship, especially when you're developing innovative technology, and then enabling that to put together a business plan, to be introduced to the region, to find these connections among all of the different manufacturers, all of the different business verticals in which actions and overlaps. Like I never thought I would have so many overlaps with a company that made air purification systems, but they use electric motors in their manufacturing. And now I'm cooperating with them quite heavily. It does bring the community together to focus effort. Yeah, I think that's it. So.
We'll open up the questions, and I want you to repeat the question into the microphone before you answer.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Who has questions for Spencer? Harry.
So should a 28 to 48 worker today be concerned that their job won't be around?
I wouldn't say so. Like one of the things that is coming out is, the question is would a 28-year-old to 48-year-old be concerned about their job being replaced by a robot? I mean, at the end of the day, artificial replacements for human, they're knowledge levers. They let somebody who understands how to use them do more faster, right? Or better, you might say. And that's why early exposure is definitely good. But a lot of this stuff, it comes down to getting your hands dirty, right? There's no like a conversation I've had a lot with many of my colleagues is that, experimentation has far outstripped theory in these very advanced. It's not something you can ignore, right? But it's also ripe for opportunity. And it's also a way to kind of get the mundanity out of a lot of jobs in the sense of, it's very common, for instance, doctors, right? They spend hours at the end of the day taking notes into the software system. Same data, same information, just has to be stored in a different way. Artificial intelligence can come in and solve that problem about their patient, right? Or in the case of manufacturing, we don't have enough people in manufacturing as it is right now. There is something like a dearth of 100,000 jobs in the United States based on Odyssey as well. These tools, and this is actually, in fact, a big part of our work is on the communication aspect, the human-robot interaction. You shouldn't have to spend years and years learning how to control these systems in order to gain the benefit. So I would say that the job that they're doing, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be replaced. Does that answer the question? So many of my clients, to repeat the question was, does a company come to me and say, I need a robot that does X, Y, Z? Many of my initial clients were more components of the systems. They were people who already had developed their own robotic hardware that needed intelligence added to it, right? Specifically around what's called awareness, which is again in line with what my previous answer was, is how do we make it so that an enlisted airman or an enlisted Marine can use very complicated systems without ever having to know the details of how that system works, yet is still reliable. So instead of having these think about ChatGPT, the way people talk with it, some of the most advanced artificial intelligence out there, yet you interact with it with natural language, right? So really, that's a lot of my the reasons I brought Ravenford onto the screen was that's kind of our first real product and where we're going to be priming things and going and very much around that system or that idea. We want to be in terms of being like, hey, we need a robot that carries this. We need, another robot that does this. And instead of having these long lead times, now you can put a system like Ravenforge, injection mold, and then start mass producing them and hope that that mass produced robot meets all of your customer parameters. So does that answer your question? So a lot, to repeat the question, what are the biggest challenges towards capitalizing on these emerging markets in the area? there's a couple of challenges, I'm going to say, or who can really contribute towards these efforts, like your Cole Morgans, your Moogs. There's a joke we've started having in kind of the community I've been a part of, which is the first rule of Motor Club is nobody talks about Motor Club. Many of these guys, like myself, came out of more defense-aligned work. It's a lot of you don't publicly advertise as much of the work that you're doing. So there's a lack of connectivity there. And that's where, again, program like RAMP, programs that have these capabilities here become so critical. So that's one piece. The second piece is, basic things like the data center servers, right? Need extreme power density, right? You've got a very kind of fundamental infrastructure. It's that we don't have the buildings that can go into the power. Or the power can go into in order to support this. I was talking to Bart just earlier about, he got it at one of his places to plug in my AI servers. These are servers that are, about 8 inches tall, draw 12 kilowatts of power a piece. So if you get a full rack of them, you could be drawing up to 100. So making sure that if we move forward with that, we have plans in order that the grid doesn't become overloaded, and how do you solve the cooling challenges kind of associated with that. But again, I think we're well positioned to take advantage of that. There's probably 3 companies in the area alone working on liquid cooling systems for data centers, right? You've got Hitachi that makes transformers in the area, right? These are sure to the community so that they could act on it, I would say is a big challenge because, and I've seen this today itself. A lot of times when I start speaking about all of these things, people's eyes glaze over. They're like, "Oh, I don't know anything." It is a little bit of a, hey, we're not bringing about the Terminator. This isn't as sophisticated. A lot of this stuff comes down to basic components that have been true for years and years and years, right? And it's kind of getting over the hesitation and the fear, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
I'm going to ask you to hold your question till after. I know Spencer's going to hang around for a little bit, right, for more questions. Let's give him another round of applause, please. And today we're offering him a small honorarium for the Botetourt 4-H Robotics Club. Thank you very much, Spencer. Our region is not just a pretty face, that we've got talent and tech here too that makes it attractive to other companies. A couple of housekeeping items, the card for Don Chichester, thank you. And also just a reminder that our Environment Committee meets directly this week. I'm very excited. We're going to have my good friend Douglas Jackson coming. He is the Arts and Culture Coordinator for the City of Roanoke, and he'll be coming and giving us an update. Thank you all so much for being here today, and enjoy the rest of your week.